and welcome back to my channel. I am Mercedes and this is the Frugal Life of Mercedes. And this is little Bootsy. He is my warmy buddy. He's basically a heating pad. I introduced him in another video, but in case you're new here, that is who this is. So today we are going to talk about an easy way to save $3,000 a year. Most people be very excited to save $3,000 a year. I'm going to try to keep this as simple as possible. I do have my other phone here so that I can read some statistics for you guys. So the average American household spends $800 a month on groceries. That's average. Now remember, it depends where you live. It depends how many people are in your house. It depends on what kind of food you're buying. But the average household spends around $800 a month on groceries. And 30% of all food that Americans purchase ends up in the landfill. 30%. So, if you take 30% times 800, you end up with $240 a month of food that you purchase that ends up in the trash. Whether that be, the 30% that gets wasted, that could be groceries or that could be takeout or different things like that. That comes out to be about $240 a month that you're just throwing into the trash. And over a year, that comes out to a little under $3,000. So 880. So I'm rounding it up to 3. And that's a lot of money to be literally thrown in the trash. I've talked about this for years on numerous occasions about food waste, and you just really have to do everything that you can to prevent it within your own home. And something that I thought was interesting is that the most wasted food type in the US is bread. 38% of all grain type products get thrown away. So, the heels of bread that you've had sat out too long, maybe you got a loaf of bread and then just ended up not using it and it gets moldy, whatever, have you. So it's really important to try to stick to a food budget. A lot of times we are overbuying, and then things just sit in our fridge and they get pushed to the back, or you don't feel like eating them, or you don't cook them in time, or maybe it's like, oh well, I want to do something with it, but you just don't. And that's why I'm always encouraging you guys, buy on sale and meal plan. But what I always try to get people to do is to meal plan around what is on sale. So there's several ways that you can meal plan. You can just sit down and say, this is what we want to eat this week, and you go out to the store and you purchase it. That's normally the more expensive way. Or you could write a list of ideas of meal plans, and then when you go to the store, you can modify it. So let's say you guys want to have tacos, but you find a better deal on chicken, or you find an awesome deal on chicken or something. Then why not make chicken tacos instead of beef tacos? And all those kinds of different ways that you can do that. You can also go to the store with a list, like with your staple items. We're out of ketchup. Okay, you put that on the list. But you don't really go necessarily with specific meal ideas. Just kind of keep in the back of your head of things that your family likes to eat. And then when you get to the store, you can see what looks good. And when I say what looks good, like, this produce does not look that great, so of course we're not going to buy that. But also what's on sale, what's on special, on rollback, what's with your bonus card at your grocery store. And also keeping in mind things that you already have at home. What I personally like to do is I will look in the fridge of things that need to get used the most urgently, and I plan my meals around that. Also, preserving your food, a lot, people can, or dehydrate, different things like that, but you can also freeze a lot of things. I really encourage people to use that freezer. Vegetables, I had some celery that was getting a little wilty, so I washed it to make sure that all the, the funk from being celery was off. And I chopped it up into small pieces, and I plan on adding it the next time that I'm going to make soup, or red beans and rice. And what I did was I washed it really good, cut it up, put it on a baking sheet, put it in the freezer for only like 20 minutes, and then I put it in a Ziploc bag. It's in the freezer. And those are all things that you can do to help reduce your food cost. Food is expensive, and with inflation and different things like that, like, yes, it's going to get crazier, possibly, and that's just the way that it is. It's like food is going to cost what food is going to cost, but we have to try to navigate that the best that we can. So you can keep going out and just picking up whatever at the store, but then your food bill is going to be so high. And I really encourage you guys to look at what you're throwing out every week. If you keep buying, let's say you keep buying apples or bananas, or a certain kind of bread, and you're throwing all of it away or most of it away, maybe don't pick those items up anymore, because you can have the best of intentions, but if you don't really use it, then it's not necessarily a good idea. I have a friend who had the best intentions to eat a salad with dinner every night. So they would go out and buy all the salad fixins, and then would never make a salad. Like, just for whatever reason, they had all the salad fixins, and they just never did. And then I would be like, you're just throwing it away. And it's like, well, yeah, but the lettuce is wilty now, and this and that. And then I was like, how about just don't buy a salad then? It's like, well, I've got to have greens. And it's like, yeah, but if you are buying it week after week after week after week, and you're throwing all of it or most of it away, then maybe you're just not a salad person. And yes, fruits and vegetables and, getting in all those nutrients is extremely important for your health. But it doesn't make any sense to keep buying those things and having them rot away in your fridge if you're literally never going to use them. I always tell people, only buy the things that you genuinely like, you're genuinely going to use. And if you find yourself throwing away the same stuff over and over and over again, and you're not really using it, then maybe that's not the stuff that you and your household really are enjoying. I did eventually get my friend eventually did start buying like salad kits. All you do is open them up, and they've already got, you know what I mean, like they've got the little plastic baggie that's got the croutons and the schmutz and all that stuff in it. And they actually ended up eating those. Now, is all that plastic good? No, absolutely not. But they were buying it, opening it, and using it versus buying all the salad fixings and chopping it. So that was a solution for that particular person. And like apples, I've shown you guys how to make applesauce. If I see that we have an apple, even one apple, and I see that it's starting to get a little funky, I peel it, chop it, and it goes in the bag in the freezer with the apple slices that will be turned into applesauce. Bananas, I never throw a banana away. I love bananas, so it's pretty much bananas don't go to waste because I eat them all. But on the rare occasion that one or two kind of start to turn before I can eat them, they go straight into the freezer. Bread pretty much doesn't get thrown out. I make my own croutons. I personally don't like the heel of the bread. There's nothing wrong with it. I've eaten sandwiches that were the heel of the bread. It's just not my favorite. Those don't get thrown away. Those go in a Ziploc bag and are turned into breadcrumbs and homemade croutons, bread pudding, all sorts of different things. So it's about getting creative. So look to see how much you're spending, because you might actually be surprised how much you're spending. A lot of people are not keeping track. So maybe for a month or two, use your online banking or use a pen and paper, write down, went to Walmart, spent $300, went to Aldi, spent $100, and just keep track of all that you spend on food, particularly grocery shopping. That's what we're mostly discussing in this video. And then think about how much you threw out. What could you do to change that? Could you freeze some of that stuff? Could you just not buy some of those things? Could you swap it out with other things? Also, what I like to do is most of the things that I cook, I make in big batches. So we'll eat on it for a couple of days with the intent for the other half to go into the freezer. So you make a pot of chili, automatically half of it goes into the freezer. It's less cooking. You're not stuck eating the same leftovers for an entire week, and there's some diversity in what you're eating. Also turning your food into other things. If you have rice and beans, then you can add some other things to it and turn it into chili. And that's not even that creative, but it's like, that's how your mind has to work. Or this was on sale, so, we want to make spaghetti. Okay, well, a lot of people use spaghetti and meatballs or spaghetti and ground beef of some kind. Ground beef might not be in the budget, or maybe it wasn't that great of a price. So you add chicken or chorizo. I've had chorizo with spaghetti and sauce before. It was delicious. Maybe take that spaghetti, and instead of having like a traditional spaghetti and sauce, you could turn it into a baked pasta. You can add that little bit of cheese that you have on the block that needs to get used up. And that little bit of green pepper and that little bit of onion. And before you know it, you've got a giant meal. And you can bake half of it, and the other half you can put into another Pyrex, put it in the freezer, and there's another meal. So we got to get creative with this. But the fact that 30% of all the food that we purchase just ends up in the landfill, that's money that you worked hard for. And I'm not even going to get behind all the, because I've talked about food waste a lot. I haven't talked about it here recently, but especially when my channel first started, we talked about food waste quite a bit. So I'm not going to get into all the terrible parts of food waste, but just think about it from your point of view. You went to work, and that's time away from your significant other, from your children, from your pets, from your own hobbies and passions. Went to the store, and going to the grocery store can take a while too. And you purchase things, you brought it home, you put it away, and just to throw it into the trash. So you could potentially save several $1,000s just by making some changes. Now, granted, this is not going to be overnight. It might start with, okay, we spent $20 less this month. The next time it might be, we spent $50 less this month. You know what I mean? It's going to be a slow process. Or we're still spending the same amount, but we're throwing away so much less. And just, it's going to be a slow process, but I tell you that it's going to feel amazing, and you're going to feel really accomplished with that. So there's lots of videos on the internet, and there's lots of videos on my channel about how to reduce food waste, how to get more creative with your meal planning. Some people are really against meal planning. And some people really are in favor of it. I'm in favor of a meal plan, but it's usually like a rough meal plan. I like to keep things on hand that I know we're going to eat. And, I only buy stuff that I know we're going to eat and things that we really enjoy. But I always like to have a few quick things on hand just in case. I do buy frozen pizza. I buy frozen meals. I keep them in the freezer. And I've talked about this before. It makes more sense to keep a Stouffer's lasagna in the freezer that I got a really great deal using coupons and Ibotta, and like rebate services, um, than going out to a restaurant. And there's nothing wrong with going out to a restaurant, but I'm trying to say if you're trying to cut back, it's okay to have convenience items, and everything in moderation. That's totally okay. But make sure that you're buying things that you guys genuinely like and you're genuinely going to use. And just remember, it's not about best intentions, because we all have the best intentions, but at some point you have to be like, okay, we really just don't eat this, or I never take the time to chop up the salad stuff. So for right now, I just need to not do that, and just kind of keep track and give yourself grace, and it'll be so rewarding in the end, especially if you take that money and you put it away someplace, maybe into your savings account to help build your emergency fund or for something else. And you can see how it builds up over time. And maybe even just starting with setting a budget after you've kept track of how much you spend. Be like, we're going to try to spend this instead, and see what you can do with it. And as always, give yourself grace. And this advice is not going to be for everybody, but I know that there's somebody that's seeing this that is like, okay, now is the time where I can be more efficient with my grocery shopping and my cooking and more intentional. And I hope that the right person sees this and gets something out of it. So thank you so much for watching, and please consider subscribing. And until next time, guys, bye.